Hey, what's going on guys? How is everybody doing? Today we're going to be taking a deep dive into Razor, one of the most powerful and destructive DPS units in Genshin Impact. We'll be talking about the stats you should be prioritizing, how to build your artifact sets, what weapons he'll get the most damage from, and what talents you should be focusing on. We'll be judging these from a free-to-play beginner level all the way up to being a primary endgame DPS. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. Razor is an absolute powerhouse when it comes to damage. While he might not be as flashy as Diluc or as versatile as Faisal, Razor is more than capable of holding his own on the battlefield and putting out some insanely high numbers. Razor is best suited to be your primary DPS unit and will not perform to his maximum potential in a supporting role. His kit is all about pumping out as much raw damage as possible and is not necessarily built to support other units using his skill or burst, leaving electro damage on the field. Because of this, we'll be looking to build Razor maximizing his damage output and relying on our support units to spark up elemental reactions. Razor's normal attack Steel Fang will perform 4 crushing attacks. The attacks become even more powerful when we take into consideration that upon ascension, Razor's physical damage will get a small percentage boost. His charge attack will spin him around like a whirlwind, draining stamina over time, but slashing all nearby enemies in his path. At the end of the sequence, he'll perform a powerful slash, sending enemies flying. If you jump from above, Razor will perform a plunging attack, dealing AoE damage and knocking back all enemies unfortunate enough to be on the ground beneath him. Claw and Thunder is Razor's primary skill. Activating it with a short press will unleash a giant Thunder Wolf Claw, dealing electro damage to the enemies in front of him. When a blow is landed, Razor will gain an Electro Sigil, which increases his energy recharge rate. Razor can hold up to 3 of these sigils simultaneously, and acquiring a new one refreshes all of their durations. Holding the skill will gather all of Razor's electro energy and smash the ground, causing a giant lightning storm over a small area of effect. This in turn will cause massive electro damage and clear all of Razor's sigils, which will be converted into energy, fueling his burst attack. Razor's wolf instincts run wild when he unleashes Lightning Fang. A giant electro wolf will be summoned, which will deal electro damage to all nearby foes. This will clear all electro sigils and be turned into energy. For the duration of the burst, the wolf will fight alongside Razor, dealing electro damage, raising Razor's attack speed, causing him to be immune from an electro charge status, and reducing his likelihood to be staggered by an incoming attack. When upgrading your talents, you should make sure to prioritize Razor's normal attack first. This is what we'll be using for most of our damage, and it's vital to the DPS of our build that this is as high as possible. Razor doesn't stop there at getting the most damage out of his kit. After ascending for the first time, Razor will unlock Awakening, a passive talent that will decrease Claw and Thunder's cooldown by 18%. Using your burst will also now reset the cooldown of Claw and Thunder, creating situations where you can use your skill, followed by a burst, and then immediately use your skill again for maximum combo potential. At Ascension 4, Razor unlocks Hunger, providing him nourishment in the form of energy whenever his health drops below 50%. And finally, when out in the world, it's only natural that his wolvish nature will allow him to explore the land at full speed. So Razor will aid your whole team on their journey, decreasing their sprinting stamina consumption by 20%. When it comes to building Razor's stats and getting the most damage out of him, there are 2 main stats that we want to prioritize. Attack percent will spread out an increase of damage across both his physical attack and the electro damage he does with his skill and burst. However, because the majority of the damage Razor does is built on his basic attack, physical damage bonus will be critical to this build. Razor has the luxury of increasing his physical damage bonus innately upon ascension, but because of the way damage is calculated, we'll get the most bang for our buck from this type of bonus. Next, we'll want to look for crit rate and crit damage in this order. Since the majority of our attacks will not be causing elemental reactions for additional damage, his critical hits are the primary way we're going to be able to drastically increase Razor's damage. Lastly, we'll want to focus on energy recharge. Because of the attack speed increase and a decrease in the chance to be staggered from his burst, we want to maximize the amount of time Razor's burst is active so that we can do the most damage possible. While we do have some built-in recharge from his talents and skill, a little extra help never hurt anybody. If you even need to question how many constellations you should build for when it comes to Razor, the question I have for you is this: how much damage do you want to do? Razor's first constellation, Wolf's Instinct, will increase his damage by 10% for 8 seconds anytime he picks up an elemental orb or particle. Constellation 2, Suppression, increases our crit rate against any enemy with less than 30% health by 10%. Constellation 3, Soul Companion, will increase the level of your Lightning Fang by 3 levels. Constellation 4, Bite, will cause any enemies dealt damage by Claw and Thunder to have their defense reduced by 15% for 7 seconds. Constellation 5, Sharpened Claws, gives an added boost to our burst, increasing its level by 3. And finally, Constellation 6, Lupus Fulguris, will cause Razor's Sword to charge up and attack with a massive bolt of lightning, dealing 100% of Razor's attack as electro damage. While Constellations 1 and 2 should be the priorities, it's really hard to pass up on the additional damage that Constellation 6 provides. But that honor should only be held for the true whales out there. Like man and dog, a main DPS hero and his weapon are best friends, so let's equip Razor with the best of the best. For free-to-play or early game players, Prototype Amunis will provide a steady stream of damage while also having the chance to proc an AoE attack. This will be helpful in many situations, as dealing with multiple enemies at a time is not one of Razor's best traits. For 3-star weapons, Skyrider Greatsword and Debate Club will treat you just fine. But these weapons should be viewed as stepping stones on your way up to 4-star and even potentially 5-star weapons. Now, the cream of the crop for you mid to late game players, we're pulling out all the stops. The best weapon without a doubt for Razor, and it's in the name, is Wolf's Gravestone. With an insanely high base attack stat, an attack substat, and a base attack built right into the passive, this mighty sword will hit your enemies like an absolute truck. On top of that, hitting enemies with less than 30% HP will provide all your party's base attack with a decent sized boost. Skyward Pride's Serpent Spine and Royal Greatsword are great alternatives if you haven't had the best luck at acquiring a Wolf's Gravestone. When it comes to artifacts in the early game, the set bonus is not as important as the stats we prioritize on them. For that, we can look back at the stat priorities we set at the beginning of the video. But if you are lucky enough to have some decent sets, Berserker will be your bread and butter for early game builds, as this will be the easiest way to get any kind of crit rate. The Resolution of Sojourner and Braveheart sets will also work extremely well. For all of these, I suggest a 2-piece set. For later game players, we can put a little more oomph behind Razor's Claymore. Gladiator's Finale will provide us with an 18% attack boost, increasing the damage of all of our attacks. If you're lucky enough to have a cohesive 4-piece set, this will provide the most damage possible from any of the sets we have access to. If using a 2-piece set though, we could continue using our Berserker pieces from the early game, but because we cannot acquire Berserker on a 5-star piece, these will get outclassed very quickly. Instead, we'll look towards Bloodstained Chivalry. This set will increase our physical damage by 25%, a huge bonus, but unfortunately not as much as the Gladiator 4-piece set. When it comes to damage, Razor is an absolute beast. He'll tear right through enemies without even a moment's hesitation. Hopefully you guys have found this guide useful and it will help you in building your own Razors. If you liked what you saw and you want to see more content from me, head over to my Twitch page, twitch.tv/xjazz207, or you can support me right here on YouTube by clicking subscribe and hitting the notification bell so that you never miss a video. But guys, that's all I have for today. I hope that you did enjoy. I'll see you guys all in the next video. Peace.